Before we get started today, I want to say thank you to everybody watching the channel. I really appreciate it. Didn't think many people would be interested in what we're doing, so it's kind of fun to see that happen and have people actually be interested. And I really appreciate all the feedback people in the comments, the good and the bad, and all the stuff that helps out. And I'm happy to have conversations with people even through the comments, and especially the few people who have reached out directly via email. It's been awesome talking to everybody. And also want to give a shout out to Don over at the Muskegon Hunting Camp. He and I have been going back and forth for a while now on email, and it's been awesome. Like, he's doing a lot of similar projects to us, similar solar, so it's been really fun to share information and see what he's doing, and exchange stuff back and forth. And also all the great people I've met in Australia, which I never thought would happen. A lot of people have reached out to me directly via email as well, and it's amazing how much different things are down there from an off-grid perspective, and the things they deal with versus what we deal with here. And so it's been nice to trade that information back and forth, especially David Levine over at Ground Grabba. They're a company that builds ground anchors, earth anchoring systems, and I did a video on their stuff. I don't know, sometime last year. You can find it in there. But we did a video on that because we used a couple of them to secure the fire pit cover we have, to put extra bracing into the ground on it. And they make an amazing product. And he reached out to me after he saw that video, and we've been emailing back and forth for almost a year now, talking about stuff. And he's an ex-electrician and stuff, so he had a lot of good input and questions on how things work in the US versus Australia. So that's been really great. And there's also another person in Australia, I don't know your name, but on YouTube you're great, GR8T, which is awesome. But a lot of great feedback from you as well, and it's nice to hear what's going on down there in your place. So anyways, I want to say thanks to everybody. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll keep making stuff you enjoy. And if you don't and everybody stops watching, I guess I'll just stop recording them. As some of you may know, we actually only started recording stuff because I wanted to have like a video record for the kids and stuff as they got older. Or, as this place grew up and all these trees, these trees are going to get huge. They're already growing a couple feet a year, and as this place grows up, it'd be really great to have videos to look back and see, like, oh, that's how they did that, or look what they built, or something you're enjoying and realizing, oh, somebody spent a bunch of time doing hard work on that. So, that was kind of the initial intent. It was never to be a YouTuber, so it's been nice to have other people be interested. So thank you again. Oh, first thing in the morning, it's like 48 degrees outside or something this morning, or 46, and it's like, I don't know, it's 51 inside the obviously uninsulated building still. But with the stove going now, we're up to about 58 in here, so it's not too shabby. So we're going to finish up all of the interior wiring today. We have most of it done. We've got to run a few more lighting circuits and then some exterior outlet circuits. And then I think we're in pretty good shape, and we can start insulating probably next trip up. We'll pick all that stuff up next time before we come up and get that done, and then it'll stay nice and toasty in here this winter. For the soffit lights outside around the deck, we were going to put in a bunch of LED, just like little circular lights. But that's a huge amount of work, and they're kind of expensive. So actually what we're going to do is we're going to use some outdoor weatherproof strip lights, which are just little LEDs. They're also, you can change the color and stuff, which isn't a big deal to us. But we'll be running that around the inside of the edge of the soffit. So they'll be kind of hidden up and then be reflective. So it should light up really nice. So to power all of that, I actually ran up into where the attic space is. There's two outlets up there. I broke each of the outlets into its own switched circuit. Well, they're actually all on one circuit, but they're switched individually, so I can switch 4, so one for each side of the building. And then that all just runs down here to this panel, which will let us switch them all individually on any side of the building, so that'll be awesome. And then inside, we'll just, since they're just, they just use a standard power plug and an extension cord, we'll just run cords through the soffit space up to these outlets. And they'll be easily accessible via the attic space anyways, so shouldn't be a problem. The interior lighting for the rest of the space will be these round kind of surface mount. Well, they're a little more than surface mount. You punch a little hole through and they go through, and they have a little wire that connects to a box up inside the roof space or attic space that you wire directly to, so you can disconnect them if you have to, or if they go bad. You don't have to climb up in the attic and tear them out. You just disconnect their little cable and pull them out of the box. And so what we've done is, you can see up here, there's one. We've pre-mounted all of those for wherever these lights are going to go, and then that's the last piece we got to wire. So we'll wire all that today, and then we'll be able to install those when we put the ceiling boards in. But once the wiring's in, we can get the insulation going, and then when we put the ceiling in, we'll actually mount all those lights in. Temporarily, we've just been kind of hanging them off of their cable, just so we could have a little bit of light. We also put in these cool little USB blocks everywhere. There's 4 in here, and these are running off the 12-volt DC side of the solar system. So there's one out here kind of in a living space, and there's one in each of the other little rooms back there. So wherever you are, you can basically plug straight into USB and not have to use the big AC wall warts. And also that's running off the DC side of the system instead of being inverted. So I kind of like that. I've actually had a couple people ask about the little USB blocks that we're using and how we did that. So I was going to grab one here and show it to you. So you can see it's just a basic, fits in a normal outlet box, and then it has just the 2 wires, positive and negative for 12 volt DC. So pretty simple, just goes into any standard outlet box. So if you want to use them, that's the ones we're using. So this morning we're going to finish cutting up all of the ceiling planks that we picked up from the lumber mill. We cut a bunch down, I think it was a week ago or so. We cut a bunch down that we're going to use on one of the interior walls that we decided last minute would be cool to try. So we'll probably have to have some more of these cut if we run out for the ceiling, but right now they're 17 feet, so they're really too big to put into the storage container. It's 20 foot, but we have a lot of stuff in there. So we're going to cut them down so they're easier to manage, just basically cut them in half. Then we'll store them all in the storage container so that they stay out of the weather until we're ready to put the ceiling in. We finished all of the electrical yesterday. It's completely done. All of the interior lighting, everything works. It's awesome. So we're going to use the big DeWalt chop saw today to cut these because it'll be faster than the little cordless skill saw and more accurate. And I decided, I can now power this off of our solar system. So instead of plugging this into the generator, I'm actually going to plug it into the building there, and we'll run it off solar and see how it does.
Molly?
Well, that did not work. It should have. So basically what happened was the fuse on the inverter input from the DC side blew. So if you ever want to see a 60 amp blown fuse. So I need to redo the math on that. I wasn't sure on those fuses if they're big enough. So either the whole system took too much power, which I don't think is true because the saw wouldn't pull more than 15 amps, especially when it wasn't cutting anything. It should only, I don't know, I'll have to check what it would have pulled, but it shouldn't have been anywhere near that. So I'm guessing the inverters, on the input side, I was expecting to be able to pull way more amperage, and I probably had it fused too low. But we will validate that before we do anything else. This is the heaviest load we've put on it, so I think it's just fuse size is wrong. I'll look into that and let you know what comes out of that. But in the meantime, we'll just fire up the generator and get to work.
Okay,
Going. We got all those cut up down to about half size roughly, which is fine because they'll be all cut into 2, 6, and probably 8 foot lengths once we start building putting the ceiling in. So now we can stash them all in the storage container and keep them dry for the winter. Well, not for the winter, I mean we'll put them in here pretty soon, but it's that time of year, so it's going to start raining semi-regularly, so we didn't want them out in the water, so they'll get moldy. And we already sprayed them, as you saw in a previous episode. We sprayed them for termites, so we're good to go there, but we want to keep them dry till we get them installed. Last thing we're going to do after we load these in the storage container is take some of the boards we cut a week or so ago and trim them down to the exact size we need and start building one of the interior walls out of them to see how that looks. We kind of laid some pieces up there last night and it looked pretty cool, so figured we'll use some of these ceiling boards and make one of the interior accent walls out of it. We'll see how it goes. Some of the boards we already loaded in, so I'll start doing the rest now. Okay, here's all the boards that are for the ceiling. Out of breath because we just moved them all. A lot of work. Anyways, this whole pile is ready to go. So when we get ready to start doing the ceiling, we're good. And then in the interim, Michelle had marked up all these boards, which were the other ones. They're marked for the wall. So we'll cut those and they'll be ready to go as well. So these, we're going to try a quick sand on just, they're pretty rough because they're rough sawn, and we thought we'd just run a sander over them real quick to see what that does and maybe keep them a little less slivery. And then worst case is we can always finish them or paint them, but we'll see when we get them on the wall how they look.
Gets the
While Michelle's out there finishing sanding those boards, I'm going to take this new cool bad boy that I just got. Runs on the same 24-volt system all the other power tools we have are. And I got a whole set of blades for this thing, but I need to go through, and some of the shim pieces here that we put in are real thick, so I need to trim those off, and this is a perfect tool for that. So let's do that. I know why it's 80 something degrees in here. The stove's still going from this morning. I thought it went out, and it's still. It's still cooking hot. Maybe coals pouring out of here. Spread these out a little, get them, break them down. Surprised it's still running though. That's shocking. I thought it would have gone out by now. And no matter what everybody tells you, these little fans are actually pretty awesome. They really circulate the air. I don't know, some people really bitch about them. I don't know why, but they work really great, especially in small spaces. And we did get all the lighting done, as I mentioned. Let me flip all these switches on. Here's the main. This turns on the porch light and the front entry light. This will be, this switch will be for a fan. We've wired for it. Well, we'll probably put that in later, just to circulate the air to the place once the insulation's in. Kitchen area, sink light. And out back. And then these room lights are in. So now that all the electrical wiring is done, all the lighting is done, outlets, DC power to all the USB ports. We'll have some little DC spotlight areas. Those are all pre-wired. We have outlets for the soffit lighting wired. We have outlets for the interior strip lighting that we may eventually put in, but at least we pre-wired for it. All that's done. Everything's ready to go. So next we can just really start on this ceiling insulation and then walls, and then we're ready to start like building out the interior. Pretty sweet. So that first cut worked great. And we left a gap here a little bit because at the top, this was a little out of square, so we had to square the door jamb up, which that gap changes, but that's fine because the trim on the door will easily cover that up, so no big deal there. So we get to the top, that'll get a little closer, but yeah, that should work awesome. I think so. Trim will cover that, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So that one fits good too. Trim will cover that right up. That's why we can never hear anything, because that dog is so loud when it drinks. Come on! Oh, good girl! Oh, good girl! Finished up these rooms in here. We got all the ceiling in. This one we actually did all the walls, just to open some of those packs. Interior wall between the rooms. It doesn't need insulation, more for soundproofing. And obviously over here on this wall. Only thing left is to fill the little triangle there where the vault goes up. So we have some pieces for that. We just have to do that, and then this room is sealed. In this room we finished up the upper part, but as you can see we still need to do the walls in here. Let's insulate. Okay, we're gonna.
Yeah, that. A little better.
As you can see back there, the light boxes get covered up by the insulation because they're not up on the upper beams because the wires wouldn't reach. So what I'm doing is I'm writing on the upper boards where the light boxes are. So if I have to come up in here in the future to fix them, I can find them. So after I staple it from the bottom, I come up above and pull it back up because it can kind of bunch down into against the truss. You want to kind of fluff that up, and then I tuck these ends down into the wall here so that there's no gap there. And then if there's any wires coming across them, I'll tear the insulation around those to help puff it up around them. It's super warm out, but unfortunately I gotta wear long sleeves because of insulation, so it gets a little sweaty. 75 inside here and it's about 51 outside, so not too bad. At least it's not 90.
You don't need any more.
So now we got to work around the stovepipe box, which is this piece, which separates, it puts an air gap between the pipe inside and wherever your insulation hits. So even with the stove at like 700 degrees, this box is like 140 or 150, something like that, pretty low. And then it has a little shield up here that keeps anything for insulation from falling in. But so what we're gonna do is cut a small piece back here, cut this piece, and then we'll just stuff some in around the sides. So.
Right.
Tear it apart. I need a hammer too.
2025 and result from window measure. Perfect fit. Hi, I'm the humble North Texas Honda person, and this is what happened when right now you can get 1.9% APR financing on an award-winning Honda. Got the 2022 Passport, Pilot, or Ringline. Visit ncxhondadealers.com to find a helpful
Perfect.
North Texas Honda dealer near you.
Wow, that went pretty fast. I gotta have to list glasses. All right, gonna open up a big pack, the next big pack of the R30. So we have these big boys. We're gonna need to open this one. We'll use this and then part of another one, and then we'll have one we can return as extra. Look at it expand! Actually see what the vault looks like, but that. Shit.
Oh, shit.
Wow. It looks like it's gonna look like space-wise.
Awesome.
Ceiling insulation is completely done. We got the triangle pieces in on both ends in both sides of the building. So see over there. So everything is completely done from a ceiling perspective, and the attic is closed off. So since we have all the stuff for insulation, we're already gross. We're actually going to do some of the walls over here in the corner before we put all the stuff back that we had piled there. So we're going to do that, and then probably be done with insulation for now. But it's supposed to be cold tonight, so it'll be the first time we can use the wood-burning stove and not have all the hot air go right out the roof vents. So that should be exciting. We'll see how that goes. All right, got all these walls done, ready to go. We can slide all the tables and stuff. We had a temporary kind of area set up here, so we'll slide all those tables back in and be good to go. So this morning we're gonna finish cutting up all the cedar. I wish. It's too expensive.